Hello, everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode of Treading Warm Water, a proud part of the Bethel Clarion podcast network. I'm joined today by Emma Harville, Jared Martinson, and my co-host, as always, Joe Hiti. Joe, you have the floor.
So this has been a hot take that's been brewing now for a little while. As you all know, I've been vegetarian now for about the last 3 months. Meat is overrated. It isn't good. I think that people get really, really upset when you talk about taking away like steak or burgers or chicken. But really, once you stop eating it, you don't miss it. I mean, there's substitutes that are better for you. Red meat, first of all, shouldn't be eaten by humans. Our bodies aren't built to digest them. You're not supposed to eat red meat on a regular basis because it's not good for your heart. That's why you get a lot of people who have heart attacks from it. It honestly, like taste wise, yeah, like it tastes good, but it's just as good to have meat substitutes that taste, the same. Yeah, and I just think being a vegetarian is better because you get to tell everybody you're a vegetarian. It's the best. It's my favorite part about being a vegetarian. And yeah, let's discuss.
I think everyone's favorite part of being a vegetarian is telling people they're vegetarian.
Yeah, that is definitely what everybody likes the most.
So, Joe, you're the only vegetarian on this podcast right now, as far as I'm aware, at least. Have any of you, Emma or Jared, have either of you tried going vegetarian at all, or have you ever given it any thought?
Never a thought. No.
Okay, there was one point in my life where I started cutting back on meat, and that it was a phase. I'm past it now. I kind of agree with Joe though on this. I enjoy meat, but I could live without it. I don't think it's like an essential part of my diet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always like people that try to have a conversation about why you should stop eating meat, or like there's always like the super, super aggressive vegans that are like, if you had to kill it, you wouldn't eat it. And it's like, no, that's not the case. I'd still hunt and like eat the meat like when I was eating it. But I think there's a lot of statistics that prove that like if the world went vegetarian or even just cut back on the amount of meat that they eat, like we would be so much better off. So I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here. Just a tad.
You haven't been already?
Animal farms are terrible, right? Like you get those chicken that's like, oh, it's free range. There's really no such thing as free range chicken, because I think the study is like free range is like 2 feet by 2 feet, or it's like some small amount of space that they have to be given to technically be a free range chicken, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like that's not good. That shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be okay. Another stat is like the amount of space we have to have free range cattle. If we took that space and even just cut it in half and instead planted crops like corn, wheat, things like that, we could end world hunger. Like there's like heavy amounts of proof that if we took the space we did to have free range cattle, because it takes up a ton of space, and we just planted crops, we would have a surplus of food and we'd be able to feed more people right now than we're feeding with the cattle. Another thing, people die from meat. Like you realize that, right? Like there's 9,000 deaths occurring annually in the US for people that eat raw meat that don't know how to cook it. There's 6.5 million to 33 million cases of illness from people not cooking. Salmonella is a thing. That's terrible. Mad cow disease, that was a thing for a while. Still is kind of. Like, this is just crazy. Like, it's insane.
You guys, Joe, I am not in that boat of mishandling raw meat because my mother is the queen of handling raw meat, as in she never does. It's only pre-cooked burgers and chicken. So I'll have to bow out on supporting this your rant. I just have no prior experience.
As someone who I would say I'm a cooking enthusiast and I do enjoy cooking, I think the part of meat that I would miss the most is just being able to cook with meat. And I know there are substitutes, okay? I know there are substitutes that have very similar taste and flavor profile, texture, whatever you want to get into it. I've had veggie burgers before. They're pretty good. I get the sofritas when I go to Chipotle. It's pretty good. But in terms of actually cooking and what I enjoy cooking, I enjoy the process of it, and I enjoy being able to use meat in different ways and like ingredients. I think that's where I would miss it more than actually consuming it. But I think Joe, you have a really good point about um, how if we cut back on meat significantly, maybe not altogether, but if we cut back significantly, I think that would be great, especially in terms of like greenhouse gases. I think I I took a Thomas Becknell class, environmental writing, and we learned about a lot of corn consumption and how most of what cows consume is corn. So to dig into red meat specifically, and like a third of all like gasoline and oil used in the United States at least goes towards like shuttling cattle around or something like that. And a ridiculous amount of antibiotics in the United States goes to like just keeping the cattle we eat healthy because they just eat corn all the time. So if we need to give the cows drugs to keep them alive so we can eat them, I feel like maybe we're eating too many cows and we need to cut back on that supply chain.
I think one thing that might be a big issue, and I think Emma has a point. Emma, do you have a point?
I was gonna ask if it's more of an environmental thing for you than like animal cruelty.
No, it's kind of both actually. I mean, it's kind of everything. So I became a vegetarian because like a lot of my close friends are vegetarian or vegan. Jared, if you didn't know, I'm a vegetarian. But yeah, so I became a vegetarian because of that. But I mean, I feel healthier. I feel better because I'm not eating meat as much. And there is like a lot of animal cruelty stuff that if you watch, it's like very upsetting to see. I don't know if you guys are aware of Fairlife Farms. Like this is the reason why I've stopped drinking milk. I've switched to almond milk. I'm not a full vegan because there's like other products that I like. I don't think I could go without. But Fairlife Farms was like known for being like really good to their cattle and giving them like free range. They didn't abuse them or anything like that. And these reporters went undercover and like got all this video of them abusing cows, mistreating them. They were just throwing like dead baby calves into the back of a truck and like they were like throwing water on them and like they were sitting in like 90-degree heat with just a little bit of shade over the top of them, like a little like hut. It's very upsetting stuff. So I'd say, yeah, it's kind of both. Like it's a mix of everything. But most importantly, just the ability to tell people I'm a vegetarian and then to be able to look down and pass judgment on them for not being a vegetarian. That's probably my favorite part.
Did you see the news story that circulated, any of you? I think it was like a month or maybe 2 months ago that somewhere in like Northern Europe, they're trying to put VR goggles on cows to see like so that they can see like green pastures so that they can be less anxious in the farms.
Yeah, like that's
I
ridiculous.
guarantee that's a real story. That's a real thing that is happening.
That's insane. Like that is
If
crazy.
we need
What are we doing?
Look, I understand VR. It's a bit of a bubble right now. It's a growing industry, but I don't think we need to transition VR goggles to keep our cows less anxious. So I will advocate for a reduced consumption of meat. I would say it's overrated. I think that the practices that are used to get us meat are definitely awful and unethical and should be more regulated and practiced less. But I like meat. It's cool.
The VR goggles on cows would bring Animal Crossing to a whole new level.
Oh my God.
That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think meat is good. I definitely enjoyed it when I ate it, but I think that there's substitutes that it's not really like I'm paying a huge price for it. And I don't think people, if you gave up meat, would be paying a huge price for it. Now on Thanksgiving, I'm gonna have turkey with my family. For the 4th of July, I'll probably have ribs that my dad makes. But the rest of the 300 and how many days are in a year? I don't want to 372 days in the year. Out of the other 363 days in the year, there's 366 this year because of leap year. Whatever. I was saying the 2 days that I eat meat. This is going
Joe,
off.
I think you just destroyed all your credibility here all of a sudden. I was
No,
with you
no,
until
hold
you
on,
started
hold on.
struggling to remember
Hold
how
on.
many days are in a year.
It was a joke. And then I said the other 363 because 2 days out of the year I'm going to let myself eat meat. Everybody's looking at me in the podcast right now like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I know how many days are in a year. There's 365. There's 366 this year because of leap year. Don't argue with me. Let's go wrong.
Joe Hiti talks about there's not enough days in a year.
You know what? Let's bump it up to 372. That's the number you said? Yeah. Let's bump
That
it
was
up.
a
Let's put it
joke.
up there. Give me another week. 53 weeks in a year.
Didn't Sarah
I'm here
Palin
for it.
one time say that there was like 300 and something days in a year? Like she messed up.
Well, if you need to go to Sarah Palin to find a common person to have ground on your days argument, maybe it's a different podcast you're looking for.
Find a new slant.
All right, let's go around and see where everybody's at. Emma, what you thinking?
Well, bread is my favorite food, so I don't think I could go without meat. I don't think it's essential to anyone's diet, and I think people overestimate how much they think they need it. I do think that I agree with you that it's probably not sustainable the way that the industry works right now. But I don't think it's realistic, and I don't think you were saying this, but it's obviously not realistic to say that everyone should be vegetarian. But I definitely see your point. So, yeah.
Josh, what are you thinking?
I think that factory farming, as it is practiced now, is something of an ecological nightmare. We should cut back on meat. I don't think we need to cut it out entirely, but I don't have too strong of feelings about meat. Like I would miss it a bit if it was gone completely, but I could live without it. So yeah, you know what? Let's be smarter about how we eat meat. Sure. Maybe we don't all have to get vegetarian meatballs like you, Joe, or vegan meatballs. But
Dude, vegan meatballs may be the best thing on the entire planet. Like, don't even get me started. I eat spaghetti so much, and I would not eat spaghetti if it weren't for vegan meatballs. Jared, where are you at?
You know, I ate 3 burgers last night for dinner. Not just the timing on that is impeccable.
Oh my god!
That's so many burgers.
Were they sliders or full size burgers?
Oh no, they were like the Costco bag that looks like a loaf of bread. You know.
Can I just say, there's a tweet. This is being recorded at the time that the tweet is going around of like all the McDonald's food, where it's like 2 Big Macs and then a bunch of chicken like nuggets and fries. And Jared tweeted this the other day and said I could get it done in 30 minutes. That is insane.
I did say that.
That is
totally
insane.
Oh, reasonable. It's more than reasonable. I think it wouldn't be that hard to do in that amount of time.
You time it out.
What people aren't taking into effect in that is the 4 Diet Cokes or whatever Cokes behind it. Like that is so much liquid that you would have to drink.
I don't drink soda, just water. So
either the best water in the world that doesn't have taste, Aquafina, no taste water.
Okay, bottom line, I see your points. I'm not going to stop eating meat, and I'm probably not going to eat 3 burgers every time I have it.
As always, I'm more solidified in my point. As always, I just said as always 3 times in that sentence. I love water. I love vegan meatballs. We'll catch you on the next episode.